They
and
weren't
think
worried
about
about the
them.
side effects when they needed to get their shot in their ass to get rid of their gonorrhea.
No, they didn't think about the side effects of
Mm.
when you contracted
They just
HIV for
wanted.
not
They
wearing a
wanted.
condom.
Manny's memos. Manny's Monday 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 memo. Ho. Manny's Monday memo. Hoes. 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 Hoes.
I mean, but y'all, I mean, just like Justin said earlier, it circles back to like our community just not trusting it based off of the trials that happened in which we know of. But
that's so valid. But that's why I said it was bittersweet as well. I didn't full circle. Like seeing like my peers that are either in school or done with school, like spreading the correct information, seeing like that. Yo, this is us. This is our time to be there for our community, in which, like most people that you ask, especially people of color that you ask in the healthcare field, like what made you want to, like this is the exact reason why, because it's like, yo, the world is so large to where no, I cannot debunk or I cannot educate all of the ignorance or naive people, and I'm not saying this to be condemning, like
no, just being real.
Like,
ignorance is a lack of knowledge.
They just don't know.
Lack of knowledge.
Right. But like now, this is where I get to step in and apply what I'm actually learning in school. Like no, like honestly, that's what made it fun for me. Forget sitting at a laptop for 5 to 6 hours or 8 hours a day. Like I'm on Twitter and it's like, okay, well, I know this about the vaccine, so let me boom, boom, boom. Like I am applying what I'm learning. Like, come on.
That's what it's
So I was really happy to see that.
That's the best way to go. That's how you're going to build trust. Because if people in our community are seeing like you guys doing it, you know, your peers will be like, okay, well, you know, if Justin and Sim didn't die, then, you know, maybe I won't die either.
That's all.
Because that whole chip nonsense, I mean, I think the craziest things that I heard was the chip and that people's genitals were falling off, that people's penises were falling off. Those to me were the craziest things I heard. I said,
if you got an iPhone, you carrying a chip in your pocket everywhere you go.
Hello?
Exactly.
Man, the FBI wants you. They gonna tap in.
You got the Face ID.
They already got your face.
You using Face ID.
Already got your face.
You on Snapchat with the filters every day for the past 16 years. Like, come on.
Like, think of this.
They've been taking your shit from jump.
Using GPS. Boom.
Thing it is, you could go to your photos right now and type in a word, and your phone will be able to show you pictures of that word. How do you think that's possible?
Or a name. You can type in a name now.
And
or how about the fact when you're talking to somebody about something and then you start seeing the ads on your phone and you're like, I know I didn't search for
How do y'all think that happens? You Google search something and now it's only on Instagram feed. They're taking your information, they're selling it to companies, and the companies that are therefore advertising those products to you. If that's not a chip or tracking you, I don't know what is. And again, like the Sim said, that's not to debunk people saying they're iffy about taking the vaccines, but if we're here to try to explain why some of these things are, I don't want to say nonsensical, because again, that seems like a little harsh, but like just to kind of put it to you in other real world terms, like you have this thing right here is a chip. Like the government can tell any and everything about you from your phone and your search history.
They go pull up your whole records. All they gotta do, exactly. All they gotta do is go to your phone company. We need to pull these records, and they can see your texts, they can see your calls, they can see everything they need to see.
Don't matter if you deleted it or not.
It's still gonna be there. That's what people forget. Nothing is forgotten.
They can bust in my window right now if they wanted to.
They can. So they already have everything that they have, and the fact that people say things like, "Well, this happened." I honestly was trying to listen because I'm big on vaccinations. I'm big on make sure I'm up to date. So I was thinking to myself, I was like, all right, now if I think of the needle, and because I'm really trying to think how they got to this. I'm like, that chip got to be like microscopic. Like how the fuck would it survive?
It's like it's in the fluid.
Yeah.
But you know, like shit like Black Mirror, like I mean, like creatively, we've seen a lot of shit to where that would quote unquote be believable. But what I tell people is I I equate vaccinating to like whooping your kids. It's a necessary evil, and everybody don't whoop the same. I'm not saying you got to beat on your kids, but the thing about it is, or even cooking, any time that you have been hit, or you were cooking and you touched that skillet and it was a little bit too hot, you knew not to do that again. So you took the necessary precautions to not feel that pain that was there at first. So it's kind of like that's what a vaccine is. And the only reason you have to do it, so this is where learning or asking or seeking the correct information is very helpful to you. It's like, well, why do we have to take the flu vaccine every year? So the flu vaccine mutates every year because it's not, the virus is not just human. It
lives.
It comes from birds as well. So it mutates each year. And the reason why I even found myself, like, when I first started working as a pharmacy tech, I would be upset with people because they'll be like, oh yeah, no, I took the flu vaccine and I got sick. And I was like, in my mind, it's no way possible. Like, the whole purpose of a vaccine is to expose your body to the virus, a dead virus at that, and how your immune system works is just basically, okay, we think about it like you and your friends at the club, y'all see somebody that got beef with, like, we see them, and now we know how to operate, and we know how to move inside the body.
Exactly.
And that's it. So the thing is, one, it's all about timing when you get it, because two, like, I always tell people, get the flu vaccine as soon as kids start going to school, like in August, because that's when germs start spreading. Once you start getting kids moving in and out of school, then in and out of homes, then they going to friends' houses and shit, germs just spread naturally. So I'm like, most times I ask you, well, when did you get your flu vaccine? Well, I got it around Halloween. I was like, okay, but then I just feel some Tamiflu for your child like 2 days ago. And it's like, yeah. So what you have to, there's an incubation period, which is why even for the COVID-19 vaccine, there's a 28-day waiting space in between the first dose and the second dose, is because you you have to make sure that your body, yes, we are putting a dead virus in there, but it's a small, minute amount in order for your body to recognize it, know how to displace it through your body and get rid of it. And then most times the second shot is like a booster or just a reintroduction so that your body can be exposed to both strands or however many strands there is of the disease before you can be, quote unquote, considered immune of that. So
people don't think of it like that, though. Yeah, they don't think of it like that.
Like, if you've already been exposed to it, it don't matter if you got the vaccine. Like, the vaccine cannot then do what for your body what it's supposed to do because you've already been exposed. So that's why it was very important to go ahead and disseminate as many COVID-19 vaccines as possible in the earlier stages, because the earlier you do it,
the better.
Piss poor preparation promotes piss poor performance. Piss poor performance promotes pain. And in this case, pain is COVID-19.
You better talk your shit. Talk your shit. We already know who's gonna love that part. But no, that makes sense, because I get the flu vaccine every year, every single year. I even get the pneumonia vaccine, but that's because, like, I'm asthmatic, so I'm high risk. And so I even get the pneumonia vaccine. I've never had pneumonia. I've never had pneumonia, and I've never had the flu. You want to know why, Sim? Because, like you said, I have great preparation. I don't do piss poor. So as soon as I know it's time, I say, all right, I'm coming to get my vaccinations. So I need this, and that. So get ready to prick me, poke me, stick me, so I can go ahead and have it. And even with the flu vaccine, because y'all were talking about arm soreness, every single time I've gotten the flu vaccine, most of the time I get sore. Like, and even the latest one, it was pretty sore and red and even irritated. But that was it. It was just, like you said.
That's what I'm saying. You're puncturing a muscle. What do you think is going to happen?
Exactly. So I had to go ahead, do what the doctor told me to do. But that happens with normal vaccines.
If you don't throw no warm compress on that bitch, or like,
I threw a heat pad on mine.
I did, y'all. I did it. And then the next day I said, oh, I forgot to put what you call it on it. Yeah. It was red. Terry was red. I said,
oh yeah, you wake up the next morning, you know what to do. Motherfucker be a naughty on. Yeah, a bit naughty on.
It was not. And that's with the flu vaccine. So I'm just like, if that was to happen with the COVID vaccine, that's completely normal with vaccinations, guys. Like, things like that can happen. Like, people just, I think they're just all just so weary of it because they're like, they finished it too fast. Like, they worked on it too fast. Like,
I'm so happy you said that.
Yeah, I was about to touch on
I'm
that.
so happy you said that because I was telling people, or I've been in conversation just casually like, yo, so how long do you think it takes for a vaccine to come out? And then they have like they have no response, and it's just like, you're saying this because this is the first publicly televised like following that you like the creation, formulation, and distribution of a vaccine that is new, like the flu vaccine, chickenpox, measles, mumps, all that was done before, and it wasn't in a time and era where everything was so accessible by people who were getting it. So the same old shit, just a different day. In order for the FDA to distribute any vaccine, because this is going into someone's body, it has to be rendered both safe and efficacious. Efficacious, that's the correct word. And then on top of that too, all of the research, development, and all of that for the vaccine was handled by a third party. Therefore, like, the government wasn't involved. Like, this was strictly science. Like, they're in the height of the pandemic, the people who were researching it, like, there was a black woman, I cannot remember her name, but she was if not leading the team for COVID vaccination research. So it's just like, how can we, I don't know how we can just sit and say, like, yeah, this shit cannot be trusted, when we will walk through the process. Like, honestly, as a pharmacy school student, it was very exciting to watch. Like, this is a highly televised rollout of a new vaccine.
Right.
And
then, like, we are not scientists, so how can we say that shit was too fast?
And then too, what people will say is they'll look up other vaccine trials. So if you Google it about how long does it take, how long does it take to develop a vaccine? I think it says like 3 to 4 years. But what you have to take into consideration is that, for one, our previous guy that we let run the country for a little bit, he developed what was called Operation Warp Speed, which was throwing billions and billions of dollars. And other countries around the world were throwing millions and millions and billions of dollars toward their vaccination programs to develop a vaccine. By doing that, you thus speed up the process, and not speed up a process in a way that the quality is reduced. It's just that the scale at which you could test the vaccine. So, for example, if you have a vaccine that takes about 3 to 4 years to produce, what's happening is that you're only allowed to test that vaccine on a small group of people at a time, because when you do vaccination trials, you got to pay for that. So if I only got $1 million budget or $1 million grant, I only can hire 100 people to test this vaccine on. You got $100 million grant, which is what these companies were having from the governments and the governments around the country. You can get a couple thousand people at a time, and that speeds up the process entirely, because you can have different people, different age groups, different genders, people with comorbidities, different races. You can have all that in larger groups. When you only had $1 million grant, you got to do 6 different phase 1 trials just to make sure that you cover everybody. So when you throw those billions of dollars at it, you got vaccination groups that have thousands of people. You're able to group all those trials into one to save yourself time, which is why instead of 3 to 4 years when you got to space it out, get more money, bro, we got all the money we need up front. We can just run this all the way through. And that's how they did it in a year. So that's how that happened.
No, that's exactly true. Because some people didn't even know that. They didn't know they were doing
they
trials
have to do this yearly.
They do.
That's it.
They do.
Yeah, like, this is not the last time they'll test it.
They got to keep.
And then on top of that too, like, even the time frames that took a long time in order to develop a vaccine, like, people think that they're doing science the entire time. Like, no, there's an entire process to be approved by the FDA in order to be considered like a safe and effective vaccine. So, like, yes, it's 3 or 4 years, but honestly, like, go into it and see when did they actually do the studies. And then also too, like, you're looking at studies that was happening in like the 80s, the early 2000s, and it's just like medicine is not the same. Like the field has completely changed since then. Like things only improve and get faster and better.
Yep.
So it's just like you have to put into context these things. Like people will give you a lot of information out of context, and it's up to you what you would like to do with that information.
So Sam, to bring me to your point, because you were talking about journalists, you know, former journalist here. So I took this very seriously when I reported. But what do you think about, I know you've seen this, you've seen the story of the Florida doctor that died.
Oh, yeah.
His vaccine. Yeah. So what do you, because you're saying that sometimes things like that can really scare people and rile them up. So what do you think about that? Because I've read the story a few times from different like news organizations, and I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about this. I don't
know the story. What's the story?
So the story is basically there's a doctor in Florida who's perfectly fine, no type of issues, no kind of underlying conditions, completely healthy. And basically he took the vaccine, and then not too long after he died, I think of a stroke. It was a stroke or something else. So they're trying to determine whether or not it was the vaccine or if it was maybe something else that they didn't know about. But right now there's a lot of news outlets saying doctor who took vaccine died in 2 weeks. So a lot of people, when they see that headline, what do you think they're going to do? One is clickbait, which we know. But number two,
I think that's an irresponsible headline.
Yeah, but now, listen, that's what I said. That's why I started with, not everybody's a journalist like I was. But no, because that's clickbait to get you to click. That's how they make their money. And number two, now people are going to think, what? 2 weeks after you get the vaccine, you're going to die.
You're going to die.
I think that's irresponsible.
And that's the thing. Yeah, like, that's why I was like, we have to be careful with our words, because even reporting the truth, like, I understand that there's still like a business aspect to it. So of course you want to ensure that your story is read or is heard, but you also have to remember at the end of the day, what you're reporting is affecting someone else's, or millions, depending on your area, millions of people's lives. But hell, it's affecting somebody else's life other than your own. So for that, it's kind of like, in my mind, I would just question, like, why report on the story? Like, I understand that you need to get it out, but it's like the headlines are what stick with most people. Like, the headlines are what get out and get around, opposed to the real actual meat of the story. This happens a lot on Twitter as well. Like, they're gonna give you an outrageous ass headline, and you click on it. And some of us who actually do go through and read the article, I'm like, oh,
because it's not what it said.
Nothing at all.
Like you really spun the fuck out of that. Like, so I mean, it's just always like a line of happy medium. I just feel like that's where people's morals and their credibility come into place when in their field. It's just like, how willing are you to skew the truth to get success, per se?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was indifferent about the situation. So
yeah, I just think that's just irresponsible journalism, because, man, you can attach that type of headlines to anything. Man that smoked weed died in car accident. Like, so are you inferring that because he smoked, he got in a car accident, or did he get in a car accident, he just so happened to been smoking? Like you can do that with anything. And again, like, I just can't. I don't know if I'm just being a little bit too hopeful or anything like that, or a little bit ignorant to putting too much faith into the government or this new administration. But I just really hope. I was reading an article the other day that Biden has like this whole new vaccination plan where he's trying to involve pharmacists, pharmacy students, dentists, new doctors in training, National Guards to get these vaccines out. Another part of his plan was getting out advertisements and propaganda, just more so showing you commercials, like how we all live in Georgia. Every 30 seconds, you saw Raphael Warnock, Sonny Perdue, Kelly Loeffler campaign ad. They're thinking about, I hope that they do the same thing with this vaccine, just spreading, debunking some common misbeliefs or misconceptions about the vaccine. Just so people just feel more safe and comforting about it. But that Florida headline, I think you said it was in Florida, that's irresponsible, I think. Especially if you don't know that's
even platforms like this, though.
Yeah, like, that's what I'm saying. So this is a good thing that you're doing, because it gets the information out. Because right now, only thing you're hearing about the vaccine, if it's not a person personal anecdotal story from someone that you know, it's a negative story. You don't hear Justin and Sim got their vaccine 2 weeks later, they're still fine. You don't hear that. Because who's clicking on that? You hear
nobody. It's boring.
You hear out of the 150,000 people that got vaccinated in Boston, 3 people got Bill's palsy. That's what you hear. So it's unfortunate, but hopefully come January. Why are you laughing at that?
Cause every time, like, I'm not laughing because they got Bell's palsy, but every time y'all say that shit, I think about the little SpongeBob meme they put next to it. It's the fish in the Krabby Patty, and he like.
That's why
nigga was whispering to him, but yeah,
that nigga was whispering.
So yeah, like that's all you hear, and man, you know, like that type of stuff, people click on that. You love seeing the car accident, you love seeing the car crash. You don't really care about they just vaccinated 1,000 people at Fulton County today, and everyone's fine. They just vaccinated 1,000 people in Macon today, everybody's fine. Who's gonna click on that? You like, shit, okay, I still don't trust that shit.
Yeah.
But as soon as you hear one case in California, like nigga, there's been a million vaccinations since then. And you hear this one case, now you're like, come on, bro. Like, we gotta.
It's not only that, but the other vaccinations that we've already taken, people don't know what the side effects of those can be, but they're only picking this one. They're only picking this one. It's like, yeah, you know that you could have had this happen to you with this, you could have had this happen to you with this, but you didn't.
They weren't worried about the side effects when they needed to get their shot in their ass to get rid of their gonorrhea.
No, they didn't think about the side effects of when you contracted
they
HIV.
Just wanted, they wanted.
You hit
that part, or
Saturday.
Exactly.
Oh, come on, chill. This is a different topic now. It's a different topic.
You ain't even you scared to go get screened because.
I don't want to know, bro. I'd rather not know, bro. Right. I'd rather not know.
I was like, to me, that's the dumbest thing. That's the dumbest thing ever that you can do is not know. Why would you not want to know something? Wouldn't you want to know that way in case something's happening, you can fix it? That's my logic. That's my logic about that. But that's how
ignorance is bliss, though.
Very. You don't know. You live in a wonderful life when you don't know. You just, I'm just ignorant.
That's true. And people are starting to get what they're calling, what is it? COVID fatigue. What are they calling this? Like people are getting tired, and that's why people are starting to get it. Yeah, they're starting to get tired of having to wear a mask and wash their hands and do things of that nature. So that's why rates are going up. And it's just like
Biden gonna come in January and shut their whole bit down.
You think so?
A month. I don't know.
I got a question.
He probably would, bro. Like, look at our behavior. We've been going. Come March, it would be a year. What have we done here?
We got more cases every day than the world. That's ridiculous.
250 a day. That's 1 million in 4 days. We get 1 million cases every 4 days. Do you know how crazy that is? 1 million of any. Imagine if 1 million people were getting HIV a day.
Oh, I'd have to migrate. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm saying it's just
baby.
I don't know, but not here. Just move my man. I'm like, all right, let's go. It's just me and you forever.
Every 4 days, 1 million new cases of HIV plopped up. Then we'd be concerned because it's something that you can think is the flu. But you tired of staying in the house for.
Exactly. And Sam, what was your question?
I was just going to say, interesting question because I thought about this as well. So in the middle, or like when I'm referring to the middle, I think of like June, July being the middle, or like the height of the pandemic. But like during that time, it was being highly circulated that our community, like the Black community itself, was really being disproportionately affected by COVID. I just want to hear you all's thoughts on how does it make you feel that, okay, our community was the most affected by COVID, but me personally, I feel like my community is also the loudest or the most anti-against the vaccine. So it's just like, how can we sit by and watch the effects that it had on our community and still sit back and choose to do nothing because of rumors?
Wow.
For me, it's unfortunate. It's like a double-edged sword. It's unfortunate because like the rhetoric we've been spewing this entire time is like for the most part, we 100% understand, especially for people older than us, like our parents and grandparents. We understand why some people just like, I don't know. I know the last time somebody took some vaccine, we know how that works. So I understand that, but then for our behavior, I just wish our behaviors matched up with our fears. Like, if you're so afraid of the side effects of a vaccine, why are you not afraid of the side effects of an actual virus? I just wish that if you don't want to get the vaccines, at least take the necessary precautions, that you're not going to Oak and you're not going to brunch and you're not going to Compound and Go Room every weekend.
Hallelujah.
If you're afraid of the vaccine, all right, bro, at least take care of yourself and the people around you. Let's just chill out for a second to where we're going to achieve some herd immunity, and you can keep busting outside wide open if you want to all summer. But until then, again, I'm not saying everyone needs to go get the vaccine, but just make sure you're taking the necessary precautions to where if you do, in fact, get sick, you're not endangering people around you that may take this disease a little bit more serious than what you are. But it isn't extremely unfortunate that the same community that's weary of the government, even though the government, like you said, it was developed third party, but they're weary of vaccinations. We're also the most impacted because of our behaviors, because it doesn't mesh. Like, if you don't want to take the vaccine, but you want to keep acting the same, we're going to have the highest rates. Exactly. So it's unfortunate, but in terms of what we could do, I wish there was some type of organ. Maybe that's maybe it's my life calling, but I wish there was some type of organization out there that, and whether it was for people, like a food thing, for us by us, to where when stuff like this in the healthcare field happens, because it's going to happen again, you have that Black community, that Black organization that you can look to and say, we've independently done our own research, and this is what we found for it. And as an African-American organization, we feel safe in advising our people that this shot is safe, or this treatment is safe, or this disease we have nothing to worry about, or this disease you have something to worry about. And we have our stamp of approval on this. And the Black people are like, I don't trust CNN, I don't trust Fox News, but I trust them. And if they say
go
it's
ahead,
cool,
start the LLC, Juice.
Go ahead,
maybe somebody develop, but I don't know.
No, like that's
think
if
about
you
it.
have somebody that you can look
about
towards, like a stamp of approval, like bro, the JDC, whatever, they gave their stamp of approval on that vaccine, bro. So they ain't allowed to us yet, because you're asking Black people to trust someone. You're asking Black people to trust someone or an entity or organization that has done nothing for them since we've been in this country. And I can't fault someone for not trusting that. So if we have some type of third-party organization that holds the Black people's trust and someone that they look to for information, that should be lit. But that's the only thing I can think of to solve it. For real.
I think that's a good point. I think Justin touched on a lot of different things. And the reality, too, is when it comes down to our community, I think also just kind of what we talked about, like how you two decided to go get it. It has to start with us younger people. Like, it has to, because you already know what happened to the older generation. Like, they're thinking of Tuskegee experiments. They're thinking of those kind of things. So they're like, no, not going to happen. I'm just going to take my chance. You know what I'm saying? I'm covered by the blood of Jesus. So whatever happens, happens. That's their mindset. But it's up to us young people that are like, listen, Mom, Dad, Grandma, Auntie, I got it. I'm good. I want you to get it. I care about you, so I need you to do it. I feel like we have to lead by example. I feel like that's the best way that we can do it, because at the end of the day, what you said, Sim, it doesn't make sense. Just like Justin, it doesn't make sense that we're being the most affected, as they say, right? But we also are the most ones that are going to refuse it. It's like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Because we know at the end of the day, if you need help, we're the ones that aren't going to get the most help. Like, we're also the ones with more of the underlying conditions, okay? You got hypertension, you got diabetes, it doesn't make sense.
High blood pressure.
Asthma, it doesn't make sense. Shoot, I have asthma and high blood pressure. I got the double here, okay? Hello.
Likewise.
And so for me, it's just like, I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't go get it when it's available to me, because I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I'm high risk. I don't have time for this kind of nonsense. Listen, when I'm able to get it, I'm going to go and get it. That's my perspective. And hopefully it encourages my aunts and uncles, that are kind of like, maybe it'll encourage them, and even my cousins. So then that way they can be like, okay, she has 2 health conditions and she's doing well, you know what I'm saying? So she's still going to go ahead and get it. So let me just go ahead and follow suit too. You know what I mean? And we can come with
at
the
least
facts.
ask questions.
Yeah, just something.
Be able to ask
something. We have to set the example at the end of the day, because it doesn't make sense that this community is affected the most by these diseases, and we're also the ones that don't trust them, and we're also the ones that are refusing to do anything. Like, we have to fix some part. We know we can't fix diseases. overnight. Yeah. That's not something
we can't fix our access to the resources.
We can't fix our access to resources, but the one thing we can do is maybe consider it. Shoot, okay, that's a small quiver of hope. Like, let's hold on, let's grasp onto that. That's better than nothing.
In conclusion, for me, if I could have a last word, I would say, people, the vaccine is safe. I've gotten it. I'm getting my second dose February 5th. So if you want to contact me on February 5th, asking me how do I feel, I will let you know. I also understand the traumas that our community as African Americans has gone through as it relates to vaccinations here in this country. I just ask that you do your research and ask people that you know that are in the field. Ask myself, ask Sim, ask one of your nurse friends, somebody work at Emory Midtown. Y'all know some nurses. Y'all know some people in med school. Ask around, ask them how they feel about it, ask them how they got their shot. And once you've done all that information, then you can make an informed decision on whether or not you want to get vaccinated or not. But after having this talk, I may have an LLC, a real one, coming soon, next 5 to 10 years, where we're going to have a program that for the African American community, I'm going to station them on all HBCU campuses throughout America, and we're going to do our thorough research for my people, and we're going to give it our stamp of approval. But until that happens,
be a board member.
Yeah, until that happens, though, until we have something that our community trusts, do your research, ask around. Take everything you see on social media with a grain of salt and get the shot. But if you don't, be careful, man. Gonna be there this summer, I promise you.
It's not going anywhere. Magic City isn't going anywhere. It's
not going. They all gonna be there this summer where we're gonna be allowed to go back outside whether you got the shot or not. But if they deny your ass entrance to Seavers because you ain't got the shot, don't say I didn't tell you.
Not Seavers.
Come on, Seavers be going up. Seavers be going up. Get that Henny Margarita. Boy, stop playing.
You're like, I'm sorry.
Y'all can't even go in the House of Hookah.
Listen, House of Hookah. Come on, man. You can't go to the House of Hookah over there off Howell Mill Road. Y'all better stop before I get back in my bag.
And don't even think you're going to touch Blue Flame.
Oh, stop it. Folly's closed, so you missed out on that. You're not going to the I'm going to tell you what they need to do. Waffle House need to require you to have a shot to come up in there. 100% vaccination rates in the African American community. No all-star
that'll get all the Fulton County right there.
No kizzy. But yeah, that's my in conclusion.
Sam, what about you?
Oh, well, Juice covered everything. So what I would like to say is for my people of color, for my Black people that are in a role of either being a student or actually are in the healthcare field, I just say, one, don't condemn people for not or choosing not to get the vaccination or to not get immunized. But it is our role and it is our duty to just educate them as much as possible. And you just have to be aware and cognizant. Only give information if it is requested. Don't be pushy or overbearing with it, because that then too can contribute to turning someone off from being vaccinated. We want to make sure that we create a welcoming and warming environment so that we are handling our people delicately, because we should know and are aware now that the relationship between people of color and medicine, specifically healthcare in the United States, has been torn and scarred for a long time. So this is where we step in and we have to be the voices for our people and to our people.
Exactly. I think you guys brought up some good points. And that's exactly why when I saw that you both, listen, as soon as I saw you both, I was like, so you guys want to talk about this on Manny's Monday Memos? Like, I think it'd be great if you guys talk about it. Because I think it's important for people to know, people to understand, and for people to really just be, consider some other thoughts if maybe they're super against it. Or even if they're for it, maybe, share with their friends as well. So I think that's important. So I appreciate you guys. So with that being said, the rest of you, wash your hands, whether you got a mask or not, wear a mask, whether you're going to have the vaccine or not. Just make sure you do all that stuff. Wash your hands, wear a mask, disinfect, stay away from people who have COVID. Make sure that you're quarantining at the times you need to quarantine. Listen, we are going to be stuck. We're going to be in the house in the summer again if we don't figure this out. It's winter.
I refuse them. Juneteenth on Saturday this year too. I refuse to miss.
Oh, I'm going up.
No, listen, I'm
That's
trying to
my
be
new 4th of
outside
July.
with you two because you guys gonna have the vaccine. So
Oh
I'm
yeah, my shit. I'm gonna be good regardless. I'm looking out for y'all. You need
my summer good.
Hey, Justin Sam,
listen,
I'm gonna meet y'all outside. You know I got the vaccine. That's how I'm trying.
I'm gonna FaceTime you. I'm being in New York.
I'm
look at the Empire.
Yeah, I'm trying to take advantage of these flight prices. Matter of fact, y'all keep not taking that vaccine.
Hell yeah!
I'm trying to go to Bali for
I gotta make up some
$40.
flights I missed. Yeah,
Gizzy.
No. But with that being said, I appreciate you guys, and for everybody else, have a great Monday.
Happy Monday.
Manny's Monday Memos. Manny's Monday Memos. Manny's Monday Memos. Manny's Monday Memos.